He just decided that.
I would assume it's Yankees and Mets fans mostly.
Oh man, and
Maybe some
I'm near
Phillies?
Philly mostly. I'm near
say.
like probably 45 minutes from Philly, so a lot of Eagles fans too. That
Yeah.
was hell when the Patriots lost them in the Super Bowl. That was bad because they
the
are
second one.
volatile.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Ryan, clap for me. Thank you. And when you talk, you're going to talk to that camera.
Okay. Yep.
When you do the intro and
Okay.
stuff. So you guys just pull your mask down,
Mhm.
just for.
Take them off or
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever. Like we're with this wide angle, it looks like you guys are 15 feet apart. So we're within guidelines.
Sweet.
So start whenever you want.
All right. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 2 of O'Colly Unreported. I'm your host, Ryan Nowozinski, joined here today by the wonderful Mayor Will Joyce. Okay, Mayor Joyce, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Ryan.
Of course, man. We're glad to have you in the presence of the Stillwater mayor. Okay. Now I'm going to start this off today by just letting you know that I have 2 gifts for you. Actually,
Really?
one of them might be an insult, but should I give you the good one first?
You pick.
Okay. All right. I'm going to give you the good one first.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to announce this right now just to this camera. Is this going to happen? Joyce Novo for Oklahoma governor 2022. And it says right here, putting the OK back in Oklahoma. This is for you.
Because of the tagline, I think we might have to make that happen. That's a great idea. Yeah.
This is what's going to happen.
I'm not sure you really want to get yourself involved here. And in Oklahoma, we don't run the governor and the lieutenant governor together. They run separate. So you'd have to run your own campaign.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I'm fine with that. But we will run on the basis that we'll both win.
Okay.
We're in this to win this.
I think we could do good things.
At least I am. I mean, so tease this right now. Forget me for a second. Are you running for governor in 2022?
I am not running for governor in 2022.
Come on.
I am not. I do. I have plenty of other things to take care of before I start thinking about running for governor.
How do the terms in Stillwater work? Do they,
So they're 4-year terms for all of our city council seats, including the mayor. I was elected in 2018, so I would be up again in 2022. Next spring would be the end of my term. You can serve for 12 total years,
Wow.
lifetime. So I will be at 6 years at the end of my first mayor term because
Nice.
I did 2 years on the council before I ran for mayor. So I would have one more term I could be eligible for.
are you going to take it?
I really haven't decided yet. It's a volunteer job.
Sure, of course.
I have a day job. I have a family. It this year especially, it has taken quite a bit of time.
Sure.
To do the job well, I think, and so it's we're still talking about it, thinking about it, trying to decide if we'll want to run again.
You've had a bunch of things this year, man.
It has been insane.
Yeah.
It really has.
To say it lightly, I mean, just to paint the whole scope of this. I mean, I've already written this before, but the fact that people, we talked about this on this show last week. A lot of people just read headlines and stuff like that, right? Take me through, okay, just in a brief summary of what the heck this year has been like for you.
Well, I mean, I think it's been for me like it's been for a lot of people, which is stuff that we never really thought about has now become a huge part of our lives, right? We've seen things that we depend on, systems that were just sort of there that we've always, we've just dealt with health or illness or that sort of thing, and it's all been turned on its head this year,
Yeah.
right? So, in terms of being the mayor, I've had to deal with how do we keep the community safe? What is my role? What is our role as a council? Who are we supposed to be getting advice from in these sort of situations? I mean, public health has never really been, in the 4 years I was on council before all this came up, we hadn't really, I hadn't spent a lot of time with the Payne County Health Department.
Yeah.
It wasn't really something that we dealt with. So it's been a lot of learning, a lot of, finding out about how these systems work and figuring out how to use them to the advantage of our community.
That's what I think is weird about this year is that we're finally starting to see public health figures be in the national light and in the local, I guess, light. they're finally getting sort of that recognition that, man, these guys are important. How important has the Payne County Health Department, has the, Stillwater Medical been for you and keeping this process easy or whatever?
Yeah, definitely not easy.
As easy as possible, is what I meant.
For sure, yeah. They've been incredible. They've been, you figure out that people are in these jobs and do these jobs because they really care about the work that they do. They spend their careers studying public health and studying, medical issues that like this, infectious disease. I mean, there are people who deal with this all the time. That's what they do. And like we said, we never really thought about it much before.
No.
I mean, the flu comes through, and every once in a while we'd have like a new, the swine flu or the bird flu or, something like that would pop up somewhere, and you kind of think about it a little bit, but it never really becomes, an issue like the coronavirus has. And so, it's been Kelly Rader, who is sort of the local director of the Payne County Health Department. She actually covers several counties. She's been fantastic just in terms of dealing with what are the issues we should be thinking about? How can we, what levers do we have that we can pull that might help you guys do your job better, right? Same with the Stillwater Medical Center team, Denise Weber and all the folks there. They're not telling us you have to do this or you have to do that. They're not giving us, sort of direct instruction, but they are helping us think through, hey, if we talk about masks or if we talk about reducing capacity at bars or if we talk about these kinds of things, how will that affect the impact that you're seeing on the disease treatment side of things, right? So it's been a good partnership, and they're really knowledgeable folks, and they really care about our community, and we're lucky to have them.
Mm-hmm. You've got some heat for this too. You have. I mean, there's no denying it. People see it. CNN has written about you, and just some of the responses, to some of the very awful things that have happened this year, right? I remember specifically this summer when there was businesses getting threatened because of mask mandates. Mm-hmm. Take me through what that week was like for you.
I was just having a discussion about this with another OSU group. The Entrepreneurship Center does Fail Up Night, and we talked about failures. Actually, State Rep Trish Ranson and I were on there together talking about that. And that issue, that first attempt at a mask mandate in Stillwater, was one of the failures I talked about in terms of something that's come up in the last year. Because when the governor and the state were sort of pushing for businesses to reopen back in late spring, early summer, we had heard from our public health folks that wearing masks was going to be a really big, important part of, once people were kind of getting back together and going out to eat again and being, close proximity, that masks were a big part of helping contain the spread. And so we just kind of put that in my emergency order to say, when these places open back up, you really need to be wearing a mask when you're in there, right? Thinking, no, I mean, it's not that big of a deal, right? I mean, we hadn't really, I knew that there were people who didn't think that was a good idea or weren't going to like it, but we didn't really spend enough time figuring out how that was going to be received, how exactly we were going to deal with it. We just felt like, from a public health perspective, the recommendation was clear, it was working in other places, and so we put it in there. The response, I think, was there were some problems. There were some people in town who yelled at store owners or store workers. There were some, employees at different stores around town who felt threatened, who felt, like it shouldn't be their job to try to enforce this. And that all made sense, and once it very quickly kind of got some of that feedback, we moved pretty quickly to say, okay, hold on a second, let's not do it this way. Let's walk this back a little bit and figure out how to approach this in a different way. And we did. We had public hearings. We did it as an ordinance where the whole council was involved rather than as an emergency order that just has my signature on it. We talked through it and we brought it back in a better format, and that was the right way to do it. Unfortunately, we didn't do it the right way the first time around.
Right.
And it did. It resulted in headlines that I think some of them were a little exaggerated. I think people saw that nationally and thought, oh, it's Oklahoma and there's people with guns and there's fights and there's, it wasn't quite that bad. But, it was an interesting time, to be called by MSNBC or NPR.
Exactly.
And people want to talk about that issue and trying to, explain what was going on here.
what is the balance between, I guess, trying to, because there have been multiple instances of that where MSNBC is calling, NPR is calling, various other sites are calling, and just focusing on Stillwater. What is the balance between, I guess, staying leadership-wise, but also trying to persuade people like, hey, things are not, this is not what Stillwater really is.
Yeah, that was really the only reason I took the opportunity to go on a couple of those shows, right? Because I had a number of requests, and I only did a couple of national programs, and really my goal was to try to help set the record straight a little bit, to explain to people this is, in Stillwater, our response from a community perspective had been really great to everything that had needed to be done to that point. This was an isolated sort of a problem, and we wanted to make sure people that understood that this was not the Wild West, and it wasn't crazy like maybe if you just were reading headlines you might think it was. And so that was part of what I wanted to express, was to help people understand what was happening in Stillwater and how supportive our community really has been around fighting the coronavirus and dealing with the pandemic.
Of course. All right. Completely switching gears now.
All right.
I don't think enough people know you, Bill Joyce. I truly think. Summarize yourself and why you are a true bleeding orange, as we mentioned the other day on Twitter. OSU kind of guy.
So I grew up in Stillwater, lived here most of my life, 30-some out of my 40-some years. I've been here in Stillwater. My parents I grew up on campus. So my parents came to college later in their lives. They were in the Army before that, and so I grew up in married student housing, or what they used to call married student housing. Actually, I think my apartment was one of the ones used for the women's soccer locker rooms while they were still finishing Neil Patterson Stadium. So it's building's still there. That's where I grew up, and lived in Stillwater my whole life. Went to OSU after Stillwater High, and then spent 10 years in St. Louis for law school and sort of the beginning of my career. But my wife and I are both from here in Stillwater. We loved it here. We loved where we were and the amenities of a place like St. Louis, but we really wanted to be home. And so after we had all four of our kids, we decided to come back to Stillwater. And it was really because, we loved it here. We loved this community and this town. I mean, it was actually fairly hard to find a job to come back to in Stillwater. And that was actually one of the things that kind of got me a little more involved in local politics and local issues. Was, I think there's a lot of people out there like me who love Stillwater, who would love to be in Stillwater, but sometimes from an economic development perspective, it's tough to find the right career to keep you here. So actually, my first job back in Stillwater was at the Riata Center in the School of Business, working with student businesses and helping students who were starting businesses here on campus. So we've been back since 2011, and just kind of dove in with both feet and got involved.
President Will Joyce in 2024.
No, I don't think so. That doesn't look like any fun. Does that look like any fun at all?
Maybe. I don't know. It certainly gets a lot of people talking.
Yeah, I think that's this may be being in politics and having been involved in local city politics, right, which is totally different than state or national politics. But you can kind of see how people kind of get used to this idea, right, of being in the spotlight, being sort of called upon when decisions need to be made. I mean, there's a bit of a, you can kind of get addicted to that feeling, I think, at some level. And unfortunately, I think sometimes we see people who really just want to be the guy or the woman who's involved at that level, and the motivation maybe is not as pure as it could be. Because here's the problem: if you're just in it to help people, it's not worth it in a lot of ways, right? Because it is so. Just dealing with what I've dealt with over the last year, it's really hard to put yourself in that position every day in and day out when there's people who are not being nice and not being helpful. And looking at those kinds of folks on a national level, you just kind of go, man, that is a thankless job. You really, to do it well, you really have to have the right motivation.
Of course. Yeah, that is so true. And now I told you that I would give you a second gift. Okay. The second gift is an insult. Are you ready to go down on March 3rd I'm going to be in the Stillwater municipal court after I got a
Oh, no.
traffic ticket. You're going down, Mayor Joyce.
Well, I don't write those tickets personally. What'd you get a ticket for?
Made a stupid...
Improper turn into a construction zone. I saw this on Twitter. I remember.
That was me.
Was it? Were you wrong?
I'm not going to talk about any ongoing court cases, Mayor Joyce. And I refuse to comment about at the time. But just
you brought it up. I'm just saying.
You're going down. I'm just saying, man.
Well, you're going to go in front of Judge Ron.
Okay.
At the city municipal court. Judge Ron is fantastic. She is fair. She is firm. She will make sure that you understand if there was a problem that was created by your actions.
Sure.
That you understand what those are, but she'll, I think, probably also be able to help you out if you've got a concern about the ticket itself. So
I'm going to change the system. I'm going to change the system entirely. Okay.
Where's the gift for me in this part?
Oh no, that was just an insult. I just had to give you that moment right there. One final thing. Okay. Can you explain to people how we get a target here?
Yes, I can. I can absolutely explain how we get a target here. We need more people. We need more shopping money being spent in Stillwater. And we need people to reach out and contact Target and say, I really think you should have a Target in Stillwater, Oklahoma. I was at a U.S. Conference of Mayors meeting. In fact, the last time I was on an airplane, February of 2020, to D.C. for a meeting of the U.S. Conference of Mayors and talked to a representative of Target while I was there. They had been, at that point, starting a new smaller store program in college towns, in urban areas where they were looking for smaller footprint stores. And it sounded exactly like something that Stillwater would love to see on that lot that we tore down all those apartments right there by behind Eskimo Joe's, north of the YMCA. Still think that would be a perfect use of that land right there close to campus. But we need our census numbers to come in strong. We need people to keep their shopping money here in Stillwater. The problem is that people leave, go do their shopping at Target in Tulsa or Oklahoma City, and then Tulsa sees those numbers and says, well, there's not enough money being spent in Stillwater, right? Well, it's a catch-22, right? Because people go, well, I want to go shop there, and then when they look at our community, they don't see the dollars they need to see. So, we need people to commit to shopping locally. We need people to contact Target and tell them, hey, we would shop here if you put one here, and we need the town to continue to grow.
We will get that to happen.
I think you can do that. You can change the local traffic system and get a Target here.
Go.
We will build a statue for you.
Am I the mayor or are you the mayor? Come on. No, Mayor Joyce, thank you so much for joining us, man. You do a great job. You've had to deal with quite a bit this year, and we appreciate you coming on O'Colly Unreported.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And thank you, America. We will be back with Maddie Farris, news editor, after this.
Hi, OSU. I'm Ryan Novozinski. Novozinsky. Why is it spelled that way? Because I'm from New Jersey. I'm your editor-in-chief of The O'Colly, and I've got some news for you. Are you tired of living in the 1970s? Are you tired of getting paper cuts every time you read our printed product? Are you tired of the batteries in your Walkman running out? Are you tired of the guilt and shame of destroying forests whenever you read our paper? Well, boy, do I got some news for you. Our top scientists have developed a new way to bring our product directly to you. Is it on VHS? No. Is it on DVD? Get out of town. We're bringing it right to your mobile device. Are you cool enough to be a part of this electronic generation? It's called the E-Colly. Sign up for the E-Colly today.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ryan Novozinski, joined here, as always, by the lovely Maddie Farris, the news editor for the O'Colly. Madison, you are new here, aren't you?
Yes. No.
How did you get into your position?
Okay, so wait, it's kind of a long story. Do you want to hear it?
Yes.
Okay, so the spring semester of 2020, when everything broke loose with COVID. I was actually going to a school in New York City, and I was studying journalism, and it was really great. But of course, that got interrupted around spring break time when everything really just shut down. And I got to OSU, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to declare English as my major.
Ugh.
And that was the biggest mistake of my entire
Gross.
life. It's disgusting. Being an English major was literally the worst semester I ever had. I didn't take any English classes. I just hated telling people I was an English major. Like, it was just embarrassing.
Terrible.
So I decided to give journalism a break, and I didn't really want to deal with it or anything. But then I started seeing the school paper come out, and I was really jealous because I know what happens in a newsroom, and it's exciting and it's fun, or it can be. And so I was like, "Oh, I've got to get back in on this." And so I spent all day trying to find a printer to print out my resume so that I could just drop it in. I walked into the newsroom. I didn't even remember what the person in charge was called until someone said, "Oh, are you looking for the editor-in-chief?" And I was like, that's what it is. And so then Ryan, you were like, oh, I can help you. And I handed you my resume, and you looked at it, and you started to cry because it was so full of great qualities
That
and
might be a
qualifications.
hyperbole. That might be a hyperbole, but
And as you wiped a tear from your face, you said, "You're hired." And then the next week, I hadn't heard anything from you. Didn't even reach out to me. Didn't even talk to me about, I didn't get a story assignment. I didn't hear from anyone. And I was like starving to write something, okay? So then the night that I was about to email you and say, hey, like, I'm still here, like, didn't know I was that forgettable, you emailed me about a
new
editor
position that opened up.
Yes.
That it just happened to open up.
And then
because I saw on your resume that you had InDesign experience, so I was like, we need this girl who has InDesign experience.
Yeah.
At least to just have her, Madison walked in with a resume. I've never seen anybody do that.
Really?
That's impressive.
Oh.
Okay. So here we are to this day.
Yeah.
You were design editor. You had some crazy experiences as design editor. You and then one day you just stepped up, and as design editor, you even showed signs of being a future news editor. And I was
like news.
There's no way I can't not hire this girl as a news editor. Okay. So we hire you as the news editor, and here you are now.
Yep.
Okay.
Editor-in-chief.
How's life?
It's good. I mean, are you wanting to know how the pages are?
No. Okay, fun backstory. Whenever we ask, I always ask my design editors, I always say, how's life? And by that, I mean, how's the paper going?
Yeah, he never actually wants to know how you're doing as a
Never.
person, doesn't even care.
But right now, I mean, let's just if I had a paper right here, I'd tear it up. Let's just forget about it, okay? How actually is life?
It's going pretty good. All my classes are more interesting this semester. I'm actually taking some stuff in my major, so it's more enjoyable. Yeah.
Okay, forget that. Forget the boring stuff.
Okay.
Tell us about like some of the more weird stuff that you do, like your caffeine problem.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I do have a caffeine problem, and it's back.
Well, you relapsed.
Yes. Wow. Now, if you ever want to know how I am in regards to like my caffeine addiction, just check like my Instagram, my Twitter. It started out as just caffeine addict, and then it was recovering caffeine addict, and it's now relapsed
My gosh.
coffee addict. So, yeah, it's relapsed.
And it caused a problem.
It did. I ended up in the ER for overdosing on coffee.
I think that's clickbait. I think it is. But that was the craziest night because you guys should. I mean, let's just remember this for a second. I've almost said relapse this for a second. But we need to rehash this for a second
Okay.
because you were delirious that night.
I was.
I was so confused. I was like, where's the pages? I mean, it was like midnight
Well, I
at this
called
point.
you from the waiting
I know,
room.
and she was all drugged up. Well, at that point, you were still freaking out.
I
But
was
then
freaking
you were all drugged up, and some of your texts that night, I mean, just some of the most classic things. Like you were like, oh,
I felt really bad.
Something like that.
because
you
it
know.
was only like my 4th or 5th week,
Yeah.
and I was like, I've thrown
Oh,
away
I'd even
my
say it was
future.
probably your second week.
Probably.
I'd say it was
somewhere.
probably
it
your
was at the
second week.
beginning.
Seriously.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I was like, I'm so getting fired because this stupid coffee. But I had asked for a decaf, and it was a large coffee,
Yeah.
and the lady was like, I accidentally put an extra shot in it, so
That's
it was
terrifying.
already caffeinated, and she put an extra shot when I'd asked for decaf. So, someone messes up your order, and you can't say no. You can't be like, oh no, you got to remake that. So I just took it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was bad.
It was terrible.
We haven't been back there though, so
Tell
it's
us
all good.
3 more fun facts about yourself.
I love Chinanas.
Hold
They're
on, I have a
so
popcorn
good.
kernel stuck in my throat. Excuse me. Go ahead. Keep going.
Okay. I love Chinanas. I have a cat at home named Oreo, and he's the love of
Basic
my life.
name.
Well, my mom named him. That was the only way we
Oh,
got to
sorry,
keep him.
Mrs. Farris.
Yeah. So, third fun fact. I have been to Japan.
I literally was just about to say, like, that was going to be my fun fact for you to kind
Yeah.
of give you a recovery there, is that you've been to Japan. Because
Yep.
you've probably told me this 2.3 billion times.
I don't do that. I've probably told you like 3 times.
Can you tell us what you used to do to your emails whenever you would send in the papers?
Yes. Okay. So I had this as design editor. I had a lot of fun as design editor, honestly, and I miss it sometimes. But I had this fun thing I would do whenever I sent an email, and I would always put something fun in the subject line. And this one time it was this puzzle kind of thing, and it said "find the mistake," and then it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Do you need a minute?
Oh my God. I'm so sorry, people. I'm so sorry.
Your eyes are like.
I had popcorn right before this. Oh, man.
I'm just sitting here watching your
this
eyes
is
like
terrible.
swell up with water.
I promise you, this is just like, oh, that was awful.
You look like you've been crying.
Yeah, I think I have been. Because I was
Oh
just
my
like,
goodness.
should I break character right now? Or should I try to power through this? And I tried to power through this, and it's still kind of stuck there.
Do we need to like take 5?
No.
You gonna be okay?
Keep going.
All right.
Keep going.
Well, it was find the mistake, and then it was just the numbers 1 through 10, and so obviously that's gonna make you focus on, the numbers. But mistake was misspelled, and it took you
Yeah,
like
it was
a whole day.
mid-sake. It didn't take me all day. It took me 2 seconds. I just so happened to not check my phone that much that day. Thank you. I just so happened to not check my phone that much that day. Sorry, I did like a Marco
I'm pretty
Rubio
sure I
type
have
of thing
a
there.
text where you say it took you like 13 hours. So
Well, I was probably just saying that to make you feel better. I probably was a little bit rude to you that day, maybe.
Okay.
Because like you just said, not what, 15 minutes ago in the newsroom? Probably like 30 minutes ago now. What did you say? Oh, everything. Not everything's about you.
yeah, I did say that
Why?
because it's true.
Well, then, okay. What about me?
Do you really want to get into this on
Let's
your
go.
show?
Yeah, let's go.
Oh my gosh. I'm
Bring
the
it out.
producer's saying
Bring
don't
it
do
on.
So anyways, the best email that I ever sent was instead of sending Ryan the actual pages, I sent the entire script of the B movie.
Yeah.
That's my favorite move.
That was a good one. There was some very, how you say, profane ones too, maybe. Meaning, she used some vulgar language.
I did
Just
not.
terrible stuff.
Oh my gosh.
I'd say that was some of my favorite ones. I liked maybe when you would roast Chris headlines. Those were good.
Those were good.
Because, those were bad. Moving forward. Just terrible. But we do love having you here because you hail from what state?
Kansas.
Kansas. Wichita, Kansas. Mm-hmm. Okay?
The promised land.
The home of Barry Sanders, I think.
I don't know.
Someone's going to have to fact check that for me, but I'm pretty sure it's true. So tell us about Wichita. Tell us about corn.
We don't grow that much corn.
Yes, you do. Oh, wheat.
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 Yes, it's
Okay.
the wheat state. So I think someone's going to have to look that up.
We're the garden
Fact check.
state. Well, not Oklahoma.
New Jersey?
Yeah, New Jersey.
The garden state?
Of course.
That's stupid.
How?
I haven't seen a single garden in New Jersey.
Okay, you haven't been to New Jersey.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, in what universe?
This one.
When?
Last year.
What was your experience like?
Cold.
Depends on what time of year you go.
Winter.
Okay, that's a good point. Okay. Maddie, we love you. We appreciate you. Okay. And we thank you for joining us here on O'Colly Unreported. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And thank you, America, once again for tuning in to O'Colly Unreported Episode 2. We will be back in 2 weeks. Have a great day.
Oh, that was so bad.
I loved it. I loved it. I loved every second of it.
OMG.